Yeah, man. It's the 29th of November, 2023. All right, so in this video, I'm going to talk about a lot of things. I'm going to give you some really good information. And so this will be more of an informative video, but I kind of want to lead up to that and just stick with me because I'm going to really go into depth explaining a lot of things about my situation, but also that can relate to you guys and as far as like social media and devices and talking about gang stalkers and the things that they do and just a lot of good stuff on this video. All right, so let's start out with the motivation for why I continue to do these videos. And there's two main things. One, if you look through my comments every day, you'll see somebody that says, wow, you've helped me so much. I'm so glad I found your videos. I just found these videos and you're the first person that understands what I'm going through. You talk about the exact same things and all of that kind of stuff. And that's where I was at as well back in like 2015. And when I first started getting into posts and things online, really had no idea where to look for answers. So I am grateful for the opportunity to help other people understand what's going on and what they're going through. And it makes a big difference to understand what you're going through and what you're dealing with, because those first 2 years, probably the first year and a half, 2 years, it's very bizarre and you're trying to come up with like, how is this even possible? And having an understanding of it really gives you a huge edge to just skip the initial phase where they can really have you very confused and thinking all kinds of wild stuff and trying to escape and flipping your life upside down because of the circumstances that surround your situation, because there is no way to get away from it. And just understanding like what it means to have you on public or to have street theater going on or what broadcast is, all of those things can help you a lot. Okay. The other reason I'm continuing to do this every day and kind of driving it on a daily basis more now is because they continue to attack me physically. And lately, the last 2 or 3 weeks, it's their rotation, because they do different things, and the rotation the last couple weeks has been genital attacks. And it's one of the more disturbing type of attacks when they're attacking your genitals and you're curled up with a pillow between your legs or something like that. And it worries you a lot because you start to wonder, like, why are they doing this? What's the damage? Like, what is this going to cause in my life? And is this going to make me sterile? Is this going to make it where I can't have children? And since this broadcast has like this receiving and broadcasting of neurological processes, is this going to cause like a genetic mutation of my unborn children? Are they going to be like these gang stalkers? Are they going to be retarded like them or something? Like, all these crazy things go through your mind. And because once you've dealt with this for long enough, you know that some very bizarre things are possible. And so with them attacking my genitals every day with broadcasts, it disturbs me a lot, and it makes me worry about what could be the outcome of that. Not to mention, it's just very painful and debilitating. It's very hard to function, if you're at work or if you're anywhere or any time at all, really, even if you're just laying there trying to sleep or anything, and they're attacking your genitals, and there's no way to protect yourself. And yeah, of course, it gives you all kinds of thoughts like you got to do something about it. And I talk about like defending yourself and what would be the outcome of a legal situation of trying to defend yourself if you actually even knew where to go or who to go to or any of that. So it's just, we don't get any help from the government, from the police, or and nobody's helping us when it comes to satellite broadcast torture. And there are people behind it. And a lot of people say AI this, AI that, and it's like listening to a earnings call about a technology company. When you read through the comments, sometimes it's every other comment talking about AI. No, it's AI. No, it's AI things, and no, it's not. It's not. There, I'm sure that there's a lot of AI that surrounds this technology or enhances it or something like that. But 100%, you are dealing with people, and these people are on mind control. Okay, and it wouldn't be a proper video if I didn't explain that to you of what is mind control, because you would get a perception in your mind like, oh, mind control, let me wander into traffic or something like that. It's not like that. Can it be like that a little bit? Maybe a little bit for maybe some people, and maybe people that have a lot of substance abuse, that find themselves in very vulnerable mental states. And in that case, they could probably be mind controlled in that way. It's more like an influence. So you have to be very hard headed to think, to double think, like, is that really what I think? Or like, what do I believe? What do I think? What is my values? What is my goal to have happen in my day to day? What do I want to do? You know, because it's very easy to go down that rabbit hole. All right. And then you're thinking about what, what these gang stalkers said, or, they just have a lot of, they have a lot of ability to try to influence your day and send you in the wrong pathway and fill your head up with deceptive things and try to just have you buy into their narrative. Okay. And that's what you can't do. You have to live your life normal, like pretend like you're not dealing with these idiots, even though they're blah, blah, blah. They never shut up, and they always got a motive and a trajectory that they want to send you on. And you have to really do your own thing. So mind control really is something different. Mind control, when gang stalkers talk about mind control, and when you're thinking of mind control as far as neural monitoring goes, you're thinking of reception more than anything, because you're connected with somebody neurologically through broadcast. So a satellite can completely read you 100%. It can read that you just blinked your eyes, your butt itches, or you smell fresh butter biscuits in the oven. It can know all of that. And whether it decodes it or not into something, which it's very likely that the system does have a comprehension of what these thoughts add up to that it's receiving, but whether it decodes them or not, if it can receive them and then send it to another person who has set those settings on neural monitoring to receive your neurological processes, then they can get it in a comprehensive way. And when they get it, it just hits their mind. They don't have to hear it. They are wearing this thing. They call it their mind control. They call it a mind control. And it's basically looks like a EEG type of thing, but even less invasive than that. Wireless, thin, like flap it up, put it in your pocket like less than a toboggan or beanie, whatever you call it. Less invasive than that. It has to cut out for the ears and usually the strap under the chin, and then the little knobs on it. Okay, very, very minimal and non-invasive. And I do believe that they have more advanced type home units that they would use like only at home, but those type of things they can carry around. And I've actually seen one gang stalker loan another gang stalker one, and then caught that gang stalker with it on. Okay, and those kind of things, they let you know something. You have to take what you can get, right? So what does that tell me? That tells me that that they can program it to for different people to be able to wear one device. It can be either programmed or it just works universally to amplify what you're receiving, or perhaps it's programmed specifically for a person, but that would all have to be typed in and it could be changed. So I know that they wear these mind control things and it helps them to receive. And when they receive, it's like they can sit there and then boom, it's like your thought hits their mind and it's like they thought that themselves. Inside their mind, it just is a thought suddenly there, just like when you're thinking of something and you just think of it, okay? It's the same way for them. When they're waiting to receive you and it hits them, it's like they just thought of it themselves because they received it and boom, there it is. And that's why they can sit there and talk about everything that you're thinking about because they are connected to you in that way. Excuse me. Now, another thing is that it is a two-way connection. And you don't have the mind control, but you can still receive them at some level. You are still receiving them. You are still connected to them. This back and forth connection is, it's way less for you than it is for them because you don't have the mind control thing that they wear. But can their thoughts enter into your mind? Yes. Yes, they can. And that's different than artificial telepathy or V2K or broadcast telepathy, whatever you want to call it. Synthetic telepathy. It's all the same thing. It's different than that. Okay? If you just receive their thought and it takes some time to realize that's not my thought. I know what you're thinking. I know what you just thought. Like, it takes a while to get to the point to be able to decipher the difference. Okay, so you see how they can fill your mind up with BS. Okay, because they could sit there and think about things, and then you're receiving it, and then so it can have like a subconscious influence on your thought process if you don't stay very vigilant about I want what I want in life, and I'm going to do what I want to do in life, and whatever the influences are, it's not going to cause a lot of confusion with me because I understand what I want. So you have to be decisive about what direction you're trying to head with your own life because you are receiving them, and it's pollution. It's pollution to your mind and it's pollution to your thought process. But it is different than the synthetic telepathy is also like that. Okay, where you're receiving it into your mind and you wouldn't necessarily have to hear it, but you do. But you do hear it. Okay, you do hear them. So they sit there and talk all day. I have 4 guys. At one point it was 1 and 2 and 3, and it's been different amounts. And sometimes they'll have like extra people on. And when they have it set to hearing, like out loud, to hear them out loud. And would you be able to hear them? Nope. Would a microphone be able to hear them? Nope. Because it's not a sound wave. And that's where people get confused about what it is that we're dealing with. Because they're like, I don't hear anything. You're crazy. You're losing your mind. Nobody can hear you. Nobody can hear what you're talking about, right? We've all dealt with that. And so that's that first year or two where you're helping these gang stalkers destroy your own life by destroying all your personal relationships, making every friend and family member think that you've gone nuts, okay? And having an understanding of what's going on can help you prevent that from happening. Because they're not going to hear it, because it's not on their neurological frequency, because you're not dealing with sound waves, you're dealing with signals. You're dealing with signals, okay? It's like, Hot 107 can't hear 99X or whatever the radio stations are, because they're on different frequencies. And every person has a neurological broadcast frequency. And this system has all of that worked out. Okay, your cell phone doesn't hear my cell phone conversation. It just doesn't happen. It's not like the old days when you had like a cordless phone with a big old antenna on it, and every now and then you catch the neighbor's conversation for a second coming through there. It was interference. Okay, so that doesn't happen really now, and everything's on a very specific frequency, and that's how humans are. We all have a very specific frequency, and it's all unique. Okay, so you're not going to hear my broadcast stuff on my neural monitoring, which these gang stalkers say and stuff. You're not going to hear that. I'm not going to hear yours. It's not going to happen. There are ways to hit or miss. I'm sure there's ways to hit as far as intercepting those frequencies. But as far as like basic stuff me and you can do, like I've had a lot of success when I used to care about trying to intercept it or record it. You can't record a sound wave using a microphone, a recording app or something. You have to use something else that can record more like signals. So I was using a call record app, calling myself and letting it interfere into that call recording, and then I would be able to hear them. And turned out it was exactly some of the people that I knew it already was, and I could hear them in my recordings, and I put in the programs. You could see it's not like the game they play, you know, where you record them with something and then you listen back and then them now pretend like they're in the recording when it's really them now. And that's a game they love to play. And they'll have you go, hey, listen, you hear them? And everybody's like, no, I don't hear anything, right? And the whole time the gang stalkers are pretending, you know, because this broadcast telepathy like disperses off of like real sound. You're listening to this like background noise, and it's like they're coming all through that, and that's artificial telepathy at work right there. And they're doing that on your frequency right now, pretending like they're in your recording and having you look even crazier. But you have to go about it in a different way. You have to go about it in a scientific way, just about. And I think that different type of spectrometers or some kind of high-tech equipment would probably be able to pick up their audio and visual. And when I say the visual, when they're on mind control, they can put, and this is one thing that a lot of people don't understand, and it's one of the most bizarre things to come to realize, and I promise you 100%, swear to you that it's the absolute truth. When they put on that mind control thing, they can control a character, okay? A broadcast hologram character. There could be one right here, right now, okay? And when they're attacking you, that's what it is. They're just going on you and going into you and touching you with this broadcast character. And these broadcast characters, a lot of times, is a visual representation of themselves. Now, it's not completely invisible, but it's mostly invisible. It's a lot of people can see it, and sometimes you can see it, and not all the time, and not everybody. So what does that tell us? It's just a little bit outside of the visual light spectrum, of the visual range, what we can see as far as light. Okay, so it's either a little bit out the top or a little bit out the bottom, or both. And so what are those waves? Those waves a little bit out the top and the bottom are ultraviolet and infrared. So if we can record ultraviolet and infrared light spectrum with some device, which there is devices that can, and they're expensive, but we should be able to see their broadcast. And that's facts. That's scientific. We should be able to see it. So we should be trying stuff like that. And I've thought about it. Trying to get some high-tech equipment and doing some different things. And it's a point of study for me. You know, I'm not going to go spend $10,000 on some camera thing that I don't know if it's going to work yet. So I want to learn all about a lot of stuff. Same with like programming, computer stuff, which I'm going to get into all of that still in this video. This will be a pretty good video. It's going to be kind of long, but stick with me. So, when they're living as a broadcast, they put on that mind control thing, and then they have these covers over their eyes. And they actually just sit there and control a broadcast hologram broadcast, and it can be where you are. So I'm, you know, 800, maybe 1,000 miles away from where my gang stalkers are in the Atlanta area right now, where I'm from, where I live, the Atlanta area, and I'm somewhere else right now. And they continue to attack me every day. They can attack me if I'm what's the farthest away you can get from Atlanta is like the top corner of Washington, like up beyond Seattle. Okay, and I've been there quite a few times, and they still can attack me. That's about as far as you can get in the United States from Atlanta, and they attack me just as much as any time, if not more, because the more part is because I'm not in the area where they are. It would take me a day or two to get back if I did decide to go off the deep end and do an incident, we could say, I guess. What I mean, so they're very empowered by doing this, and they like to put on these shows, and that's what I talk about, the live stream. Okay, and the live stream is because EMF broadcast is video without a camera. So just like they can receive you, and when they receive your neurological processes, your view, okay, is part of what your mind is processing. So it's not that they see through your eyes, it's that they receive your neurological processes, and your mind has perceived what your eyes see, and so they can receive that. And so if you see funny, something's wrong with the way you see, then they would see it messed up like you see it. Unless you put your glasses on, and then they would see it clearly like you see it. And it's because of the way your mind receives it. Okay, they're actually attacking my genital area right now. Right now they are, and they have been like all morning, all last night. I came out with a video talking about people and stuff, and I'm going to get into all of that too. But when they're living as these broadcasts, they put out EMF broadcast video, and that's the live streams. It doesn't have to be live, but initially it's a live stream, and then from there, I could do a live stream and then chop it up into like short video chunks, pieces, and just put content everywhere. And that's what they do. That's how they make money. They gang stalk you with EMF broadcast live streams, and in that live stream, it doesn't have to be your view. It could also be a view off of like a reflective surface. It could be the view from them, from their broadcast. If you ever get a good look at a hologram broadcast, when they're controlling, they have these shiny black eyes, and that's what they see. The reflection from that EMF waves are reflective. If you look into it, they are reflective. And so they have a concentration of them, and it'll look shiny and black where they're the eyes of the broadcast. And that would give them a view from their broadcast. Then they have your view. Then they have views from reflections and anything around you. So they have all these different views, and they can, put a broadcast on this reflective thing and use the reception from their broadcast, and use your view, and put all of those together, and they create these EMF videos, and they call it their live stream, and they'll be living as some character that may or may not look exactly like them. A lot of times it does, and sometimes they're characters. Like they could be a skeleton or the Grinch, or things that I've seen. So and I don't care if it sounds bizarre to you, because it's going to hold up over 1,000 years, these videos and these truths that I'm telling you on these videos. They'll hold up for 1,000 years, because right now everybody can say, "Oh, you're crazy." Okay, and then 10 years from now, they'll be saying, "Wow, he was the first one to talk about all this stuff correctly, to talk about it accurately." So those characters, when they're all mind controlled, it's like it does something to their brain. So you take a degenerate moron, okay, that with a horrible upbringing and just a pathetic personality, okay, and then you give them a lot of power over people, and then they have the power to hurt people, and then they have the power to not be caught or prosecuted or punished. And so then it amplifies their desires to do all sorts of horrible things, and they become very, very empowered in the way that they feel like they can never get caught or never get in trouble and do anything they want to you. And they even talk trash, like, I can do whatever I want. And that's this guy Marcus on my channel. Been on my channel for 10 years, every day for 10 years. This is his life. I am his life. I'm his life. It's like he worships me, okay? And he attacks me and all of these things, but it's really like he worships me because he spent 10 years of his life just sitting there looking at me every day, watching me. And so what if he's doing live streams and all this stuff? But, these live streams that they're doing, this is the content that they're putting out, and this is how they make money. Just like if you get, say you get 1,000 views on YouTube, okay, you probably make, $3 or $5 or $10 or something, depending on your CPMs. It's like a metric that they use. So they do kind of something like that, where they put this content out there and they might have like a little banner ads or like, a little ad that shows first or something like that. And whether it makes millions of plays or not, maybe, I'm sure some of them do, because some of us get into some wild situations that are pretty entertaining if you were to be on the outside watching that. And then they do thousands and thousands of them over years and years. And so you see how they're invested, and they have all of this content out there, and they're able to sit there, even if they're just making a couple cents a day off of thousands and thousands of contents, they start to make a little bit of money. And so they're sitting there, and they don't have to do anything but sit there. But there's a trail of money. Where is this money how are they able to sit at home for 10 years without a job? They probably get some kind of disability or something like that. But they do make some money off of gang stalking us, and that's how. And Google and some of these other platforms that kind of turn a blind eye to, it's just business, I guess, to them. But either way, these characters that they live in, like the guys that I'm dealing with, they're like screaming like girls. They do these cartoon sounding girl voices and like these little kid, like scratchy little kid girls and like all kinds of stupid stuff. And it's like they're characters and they're doing their live streams and they're trying to be like characters. They're attacking your genitals and putting stuff all over your face. You can feel it all in your eyelashes and all over your face, and you got broadcast in your mouth, and they're all in your beard and moving around, and they love it. They love doing it for whatever reason. It makes them feel powerful. And they love to do these live streams, and they obviously have enough audience to be able to continue to do this every single day forever. And, who knows what kind of scams they're doing to live free off the government or whatever else. But that's how broadcast works. That's how mind control works. And I know it's a long explanation, but it's the absolute truth. I promise. I swear it is. I wouldn't just make it up. You can't make that up. And I wouldn't come on here lying about it. To be honest, I could do way better things with my time than be here talking about something that makes 99% of people think that I'm nuts. What? That wouldn't make any sense. Okay, I could build up YouTube channels with content that millions of people watch, and I'd be mega rich and doing whatever I want in life. And there's a lot of things that I could be doing differently. And I probably will start moving in some of these other directions, because becoming financially prepared to deal with these gang stalkers is a big deal, because it's going to be a nasty legal battle. And let's just be real, you got $2 or $3 million, they're not going to be really so motivated to bother you like they are when you're broke and barely paying some rent, or homeless, or like if you're like on drugs, and anything that can help them to say, oh yeah, we ain't got to worry about this person having any credibility or any success in life, so we can do whatever we want to them. And, they'll try to put you there, and they'll try to hold you there. And so you have to really make an effort to find a direction that can put you in a better place and just a better pathway. So let's talk about Facebook. Let's talk about Facebook, and I want to talk about a gang stalker named Tony Bruce. And I want to just tell the story about that and talk about Facebook in general, and then why I'm able to even say it, okay, without having recourse, because there has been recourse. If you just come on public internet on your channel with me, 10,370 subs now, if I come on here and I just start talking about people, they may have some recourse. They might be able to file some kind of thing, and I would have to fight against it in court. And it's happened to me before. I've had people say, "Oh yeah, you can't be saying my name." And here's the thing about that, okay? If you're going to say somebody's name, whether they're a gang stalker or not, if you're going to say their name publicly, you need to have something as a leverage, okay, to say, okay, yeah, no way they would drag me into a courtroom, and if they did, it's not going to be good for them. Okay, so, and the problem for them is if they're guilty, and then they start using the judicial system against you, which I've had somebody that's absolutely 100% guilty, but this person has ties to the legal system for, I can't really talk about it, but they actually did that when it said, you're talking about all this stuff or whatever, and because of the favoritism and the way that the legal system will railroad you if you're not an important person or had an important people in your family, which is what this person had, important people in their family, and which they turned out to be like a complete failure, and all kinds of legal problems, gang stalker, no life, drug addict, low life, pathetic loser, pissed away everything they ever had, and all the opportunity and prestige that they could have had or should have had as a member of that family, but because of their status as a member of a certain family, it is very easy for them to get favoritism and support in the judicial system. So in that case, I was told to not talk about this stuff. And the funny thing is that so are they. And the funny thing is that they continued to do so anyway. And so I started refiling things back, and it went back and forth. And continually, they were given favoritism in the judicial system. And so I said, okay, I'm just not going to talk about this person anymore until I'm ready to just come out completely with the whole real story, and I have my legal team and my success backing me up and the proper evidence to put this thing away for certain. Okay, and so that's what I'm going to do. Meanwhile, they're still, abusing their privilege by doing whatever they want to, while a crooked judicial system is telling me that I can't. Okay, but when it comes to this gang stalker, Tony Bruce is associated closely with a girl that has possession of my neural monitoring and is responsible for my gang stalking in the first place. And she also gave Tony Bruce his neural monitoring, and he became a gang stalker. This was probably back in 2014 or somewhere back then, long time ago, probably before then. But that's when I knew about their connection, and that there was something fishy going on. And then later I come to find out that it was about neural monitoring. And the reason that I'm talking about Tony Bruce is because Tony Bruce got caught with some sketchy Facebook profiles where if I searched his name, it would come up with these profiles, and I had to be on one of my pages, not on my regular profile. And somehow they got it mixed up where I could find it. And I was on my, I had an Android, a Galaxy S10, and it was like the high megabyte storage, and it's like $1,000 phone or something like that. And I was very pleased to have it at the time. It was the nicest phone I had ever had. And turns out though that these gang stalkers just ransacked it and they had it completely hacked. And as with every other Android that I've had, and I'll get into that more in a few minutes, but this particular time when I searched his name, it came up with these profiles, and I would click on them, and in those profiles, it would have my what I'll call assets, my accounts basically, or my groups. So I have regular Facebook, okay, and then I have my pages, okay, and my pages are I separate this stuff. Regular Facebook, you don't see anything about gang stalking or anything like that. Excuse me. So I use my pages for that. And a lot of the big groups on Facebook are groups that I run. And I started several of them. When I started doing all of this back in like 15 and 16, there was none. There was some, don't get me wrong, there was some. There was like maybe 3 or 4 or 5 big groups on Facebook and then a bunch of little small ones. Not a bunch, but like 20, 30. Now there's hundreds, okay? Hundreds and hundreds. And those hundreds and hundreds of groups on Facebook about targeting and gang stalking and remote neural monitoring have thousands and thousands of people, some 10 to 20,000 people. And many of the ones that I run have, over 5,000 people. And so these groups, though, are another thing that gang stalkers use, and also my pages. So I have like the targeted individual page and the remote neural monitoring page, and I've had them for a long time. And like I have all the names, with the personal links and everything. That's how long I've had them before anybody else had these names and stuff. So I found this Tony Bruce profile, and built in, this was a custom built profile. Like you can't set it up that way without using developer stuff and building it yourself. But he had my groups and pages built in to this profile, and in the posts were all like these secret ads, like advertisements to EMF broadcast live streams. Okay, really found that. And when I found it, I got a screen recording of the whole thing. I scrolled through all that stuff and went to all of it on a screen recording. As soon as I got done with that screen recording, the battle started. Now, I had already been having problems with them on my devices, all devices, Apple devices and Android devices alike. Laptops, desktops, Chromebooks, Androids, Windows, all of them. All devices completely hacked. But when it comes to an Android phone, this group of gang stalkers that I deal with, they hack the stuff. They have it so messed up that it becomes difficult for me to even use it for normal things. So when I got that screen recording video of that Tony Bruce profile with all of my accounts built into his profile, and it was just all about gang stalking stuff, then that's when I could confirm 100% that the girl that has my neural monitoring had put Tony Bruce on as a big time gang stalker on my stuff. Somebody that had the capability to put out content and do the live streams and stuff like that. Now, it doesn't appear to me that he's been part of my gang stalking as far as like the guys who I deal with every day that talk out loud and all that stuff. Now, if somebody's not talking out loud and exposing now, and he has talked out loud a few times sporadically here and there, but in times when there was 30 people coming on and off my channel every day, it's like wild times. But otherwise, anybody who's not coming out talking out loud, it's going to be difficult for you to tell if they're involved or not. And that's what I'm faced with when I know the group. I know the group, and I know a bunch of people that definitely have neural monitoring, and they definitely are part of this group of gang stalkers, and they are gang stalkers, and they do have neural monitoring, and I'm absolutely 100 on that. But are they actually part of mine? Sometimes it's hard to tell, because I know that the 4 guys that are on my channel are part of that group, but I didn't know them prior, okay? But I had met Tony Bruce quite a few times because of the girl that gave him neural monitoring and got me targeted and has my neural monitoring, okay? It was like a mutual person we knew. And then same thing with Black James. I didn't know him prior, but I met him 10 times through that same person. And he was the main gang stalker on my channel for a couple years, the first couple years, as far as talking out loud gang stalker, doing the live streams when I was aware of it. Okay, so they do it otherwise too, when you're not aware of it and, attacking you when you have no idea what it is, probably think it's a condition or an injury or something, going to the doctor or anything. A lot of times it is them. Okay, but when they start talking, it gives away a lot of secrets because they're braggers and they can't shut up and they like to feel powerful. So they're talking trash a lot is what they do. But when I found all of that, that confirmed for me 100% that Tony Bruce was part of my gang stalking problem and that he was putting content out through Facebook. And Facebook and the Meta platforms are a huge problem with gang stalking. And you can't find it normally. All they did was shut it down where I couldn't find it anymore. And the way they do that is because it's like a custom application that they've created, and then they have it hosted on like localhost, and that's the only way you can get to it. All right, so when they want to be connected, they just turn it on their computer that they're running as a server and serve up their own custom application, and then it's out there. And then they can put out the live streams and do everything like that. And they use the Facebook platform in a big way to do that kind of thing. And can you find it? Yes. Always? No. No, it has to be up for you to find it. Like I can make a website right now and I can put it up on localhost and host it myself and have you go to it, and I can just turn it off if I want to, just like that. Even if I have a website up through hosting, I can go on the hosting and control all of that and just turn it off if I want to. So you can get to it sometimes, or you can control who gets to it. And you can put passwords on it. But it didn't matter because that was the confirmation that I needed, that Tony Bruce is a gang stalker that has neural monitoring, and he's using neural monitoring, running EMF broadcast live streams about my targeting in my life. So he's on my neural monitoring and he's putting that content out through Facebook. And so I believe that there's a documentable trail of that. And even though I got that video, the first thing that they did was they deleted it. Okay. Now, this is $1,000-something phone. Okay. And at the time, it was my main phone. And so this was very frustrating for me. I immediately got a recovery application that would recover deleted photos and videos, okay? And I recovered it. And when I recovered it, they immediately deleted it again. And so at that point, I decided this is valuable. This is very valuable because I just got evidence, solid evidence of something that I know was happening, but it's very difficult for anybody to prove. And so I turned the device off. Okay, and this was probably over 2 years ago. I turned it off, and I've never turned it back on. Now, what does that mean? I don't know. Will I ever be able to recover it? I don't know. Okay, but I do believe that Tony Bruce would be out of his mind to try to file anything against me knowing that I have that knowledge at all, that he does that, because ultimately there's some evidence somewhere within the Facebook platform or the history of something that shows that he's doing that. And I probably still have it on the phone. The problem is they can remotely turn on a phone, and because they do it to this phone all the time, my iPhone Mini. It's off now, it's off. Right? It's off. But all the time, I just look and suddenly it's on. and because they want to do live streams, they want to use that platform, that service, that hardware and that service. Because as a broadcast, if I have a broadcast, he's in Atlanta, okay, and he's on mind control, controlling a broadcast that's here, okay, if that broadcast wants to do a live stream, it needs a service and a hardware. And that service and hardware needs to be where I am to run that live stream. So that's when they'll turn on your devices. If you turn them off or you just use their phone that's on. I have one that's on all the time anyway. But yeah, they'll do that, okay? So that's what I have, okay? I still have that phone in the bag right here. And I haven't turned it on in over 2 years. I charge it every couple months and that's it. Just to try to make sure that it's evidence, right? I mean, I started going to college to try to get to a point where I can put together those kind of evidences. And the biggest problem is that, just like what happens, they delete it. They'll destroy your evidence. If you get good evidence against them, they will destroy it. So it's very difficult to keep solid evidence against them, and it's like a constant struggle. Okay, but I actually have that. Another thing that happened was about maybe 5-6 years ago, I put out a video and it was like proof that Facebook is part of gang stalking or something. You can find it on the channel. It's still public, all right. And it's what it is I showed on the video that I could log into my Facebook account with the wrong email because a gang stalker, some girl that I don't know, told me, she didn't even really tell me. She just kept saying it. She was saying because it was kind of like my name, but it was like different. And she kept saying it with my name all like sounding weird like that. So I kind of finally got what she was trying to tell me. And so I typed that in and it was basically something very similar to my normal email. But it was different and it was spelled wrong, but it was the way that she kept saying it to me, trying to give me that clue. And so I used that as my login, and with my same password, it worked. It worked, and it took me to like some hosted gang stalker version of my same exact profile. And there's nowhere that I never even knew of that email. I never added that email to my account. It doesn't show as an email on my account, but that's in the video shows that it doesn't show as an email on my account. And it also shows that it does work to log into my Facebook. And this is another thing that these gang stalkers can do. And what does that mean? I don't know. I don't know exactly what it means. I just know that it means that gang stalkers have some fake email that they made up that's kind of similar to mine that can also log into my Facebook. That's not part of my Facebook information. And I didn't put it there and it wasn't in there. And I show all of that in that video. And that video is on this channel. And that was a long time ago. And what does it show really though? It shows that Facebook has some problems with this gang stalking stuff. And, they know it. They know that they do. That's a mega cap as far as like stock market. They're like $1 trillion, and imagine when everybody finds out, all the big mutual funds and everybody's 401ks and IRAs, they all have Meta in them in a big way. It's one of the big seven, the magnificent seven as far as the stocks. It's like Apple, Microsoft, Meta, Google, Amazon, Nvidia, something. It's like, yeah, it's one of the biggest ones, right? So imagine what you're up against to try to say, oh yeah, Facebook is part of gang stalking. Imagine what you're up against. You're up against trillions of dollars. And every rich person runs all the big funds and the big money and everybody and the politicians. And, Zuckerberg is like one of the biggest donors to the Democratic Party when it comes to like elections and stuff. And he runs Facebook like they used to run Twitter as like a left-wing thing, and they all take campaign donations from him, and then he runs the platform like a left-wing thing, and then but unfortunately there's a billion people on there. But I feel like, and if you're like me, you probably see that I get, if I get 100 friend requests, I know 3 of them. I don't know 6 of them, and then 91 of them are like some sort of fake looking name from somebody from the Middle East or somewhere else, and it's just not real. It's not a real profile. So that's some of the things that, about like social media and a particular gang stalker, this guy Tony Bruce, and why I'm able to sit here and talk about that, because those things are true. And I mentioned this guy Robert Lackey on a lot of videos before in the past, and he's threatened me about it. That was the first thing. He said, hey, don't make me have to come pay you a visit, to stop putting me on the computer. And so the first thing I did was I posted that voicemail. He left it on voicemail. So I posted the voicemail on my channel, on this channel. Later on, same thing happened again, where he did a voicemail. Idiots just leaving me voicemails saying, oh yeah, man, safety for sale. I'm getting attacked by broadcasts every day. And these guys say that he's their leader, and he's telling me they'll sell me safety. That's extortion, is what it is. Also had the video posted on this channel still, where with his little brother, that's where he's saying, oh yeah, Robert's got big plans for you. Yeah, we got your neural monitoring, but we can get on your neural monitoring. Yeah, it's real advanced system. No, you can't have it. Robert's got big plans for you and all this type of stuff. And that was Robert Lackey's little brother, and I posted the actual messages on a video on this channel, and all the voicemails from Robert, and so that's kind of why I can sit here and say that say their names, Robert Lackey and Casey Lackey, because they're people that have neural monitoring, and they want to threaten you about it or brag about it or whatever, and all these guys, Tony Bruce, Robert Lackey, and Black James, and all of these guys that I talk about, they know who these 4 guys, these main guys, and who else is on my neural monitoring doing this gang stalking every day, attacking my genitals and rotting out my teeth and, messing up my bone structures and my feet and my knees and everything else, attacking my heart and putting broadcasts in my neck and all of the things that I talk about. And they go through these phases where, they've been attacking my genitals for a couple weeks. And now, just like I tell you every time when they go through these phases, I say, what happens? I have to sit here and make a big fuss about it for 3 or 4 days on videos and start to get too much attention. And then they'll stop doing that and they'll rotate to something else. So like probably tomorrow, they'll stop attacking my genitals for a few weeks and start attacking my neck or my leg or my heart or something like that. To the point where I'm like limping around or like feel like I'm gonna die, taking pictures and doing videos about that particular type of attack. So, that's what you're dealing with. But you do have to be careful about the leveraged position that you're in, and are you willing to go all in and dedicate every resource that you have to legal resources, to legal teams or legal counsel to fight against these people in a courtroom if they decide to go against you in that way. Because it's, like I said, it's risky. It's risky to use the judicial system against you when they are guilty. So it's kind of like a double edge. It's like, okay, I'm guilty of gang stalking and doing horrible things, but at the same time, I'm going to use the legal system to shut my victim up. Okay, that's very, very sinister type of stuff. And I've had somebody do that exact thing. Okay, so it's really huge risk. Okay, and it puts you in a situation where if the truth does start to come out, you're looking not so good if you've been using the judicial system to shut down your victims. That's a real bad look. Okay, and it's happened before, but I don't believe that some of these other gang stalkers would take it that far, especially if you have some sort of evidence, real evidence against them, and especially if you're willing and ready and able to dedicate a lot of resources to that legal battle, which, it wouldn't be my first choice of allocation, but if I had to, I would. And I could come up with quite a substantial amount of legal counsel, I guess you could say. Now, about Google or Alphabet in general, which is Google, Android, Chrome, all of those fall under Alphabet, the Google name. The company is called Alphabet. So I have the most problems with phones out of Androids. And Androids kind of give you the freedom to do a lot more when it comes to phones. You could put a memory card in there. You can control a lot more stuff. It's not locked down as much as like an iPhone. Now that said, it's extremely difficult if you're being gang stalked to use a Google product because they're so tied in with like allowing people to do things like the Tony Bruce thing, having all my Facebook accounts and groups built into this private application profile thing that he built and hosting it and all this stuff. Like, I didn't give them permission to do that. Those are my accounts. Those are my accounts and my account assets, and I didn't give him permission to do that. And there's nowhere on my account anywhere that says that he's doing that. And there's no way for me to even know if I didn't find it myself and happen to know who he was and all of this stuff. So huge liability for Facebook. Now, Google, maybe not so much as that, but probably pretty much like that. They get into your Google stuff just the same. And, when it comes to like YouTube even and Google in general and Android phones, and they're just all over everything. And it gets to the point where you can't even make the thing function good enough to use it as a normal thing. But another thing about I'm a little sidetracked because I'm getting some messages, but when you can't use when I'm talking about Android devices, you need to learn about virtual devices. And I didn't know anything about virtual devices, but in 2012, I was close to a person that was beginning the pathway to neural monitoring. Okay, because they were associated with some people that decided to give them neural monitoring. And so they were learning how to contain it and to have it. They were learning how to have it. And the way they had it, the way that they were learning, they suddenly became a Android developer and had a hosting package on Bluehost. And you could probably get any hosting package, but they had one on Bluehost. And they were also on Android Developer Everyday and a few other type of developer sites. And then and I was so close to this person. And one day they showed me how they had this virtual Android pulled up on their iPad. So they were using a virtual Android on an iPad, and they were showing it to me like it was cool. And at the time, I wasn't gang stalked yet. I was on remote, and the people that had my the girl that had my neural monitoring did not know yet whether or not I was going to get it. And if you get it, if somebody shows it to you, doesn't matter who has it, they're going to give it. They're going to have to give it to you. They're going to have to give it to you. If somebody shows you how to use neural monitoring and, hey, here's how you get it, like, it doesn't matter who has yours. They're giving it up. That's the bottom line. So she didn't know at that point if I was going to get neural monitoring, because some people that I was very close to were starting to give it to each other and stuff like that. And so, just so happened that it didn't happen for me. They didn't give me neural monitoring. But quite a few people that I knew did start to get neural monitoring or already had it, and it was going around my circle. Okay, so that's how I learned initially about virtual devices. And at the time, I didn't understand that's what was happening until later later I realized that they all use virtual devices and virtual Androids. So it's definitely a point of interest if you're looking to learn more about devices and all that stuff. But Google Alphabet is shady, man. It's shady. Androids are difficult when it comes to gang stalking. At the same time, I've been able to get a lot more evidence out of Androids than I have. If you want to use an iPhone, Apple's, to me, it appears that Apple's a little more of an ethical company. And like, even if gang stalkers, they can and they do have your Apple iPhones and MacBooks hacked. They have them hacked. But I've been able to call Apple and say, hey, they just locked me out and changed my password on my MacBook. And the thing was like 7 years old and then not under Apple Care or anything. And they still helped me, And when it comes to like iPhones and MacBooks and stuff, Apple will help you, especially if you're like an Apple Care subscriber or whatever, but they will help you anyway. And they don't put up with it as much. Like Android's like, it's open source, but it's like known open source. Apple's open source too, but it's just like kind of like we're open source, but not really. So I don't know. It's kind of weird, but if you want to, in my experience, it would seem that if you want to have a device you could just use every day for the functionality of it, when you're not trying to be a hacker or catch gang stalkers, you just need to use your phone and your maps and check your stuff or whatever, then iPhone seems to work way better for me. Okay, but I've gained way more evidence with Androids. Okay, I used to go into the root file system and highlight a bunch of their files that these gang stalkers had on my Android, and then I would like initiate a transfer to a USB drive, and then like put the thing in a metal safe and put the little metal safe in the freezer and shut that, and like that's what would allow the transfer to go through. Otherwise, they would just stop it. But if you do that, then you could get the whole transfer. And I got. You would not believe how many thumb drives and memory cards and stuff I have full of files like that I just have, but I can't even go through them because they'll just delete them. As soon as I plug them into anything, they just destroy all the files. They'll like mess up the formatting of a memory card suddenly. All kinds of stuff like that, to anything to destroy the evidence. But I've got boatloads and tons of that kind of stuff, which brings me to the next subject and probably the final subject, since this video is getting kind of long. What can we do about it? What can we do about it? And you can't go to the police about it. You can't go to the government about it. And even if you find somebody who's not necessarily a gang stalker that does happen to know what you're talking about and maybe has neural monitoring too, they probably ain't going to help you. Even if they say they might, then maybe they will. And I've found a few people that have neural monitoring that I feel like will help me. And they've actually told me that they would help me. But thus far, it has not happened. And perhaps it's because my position with YouTube and publicly talking about it. But I kind of don't have a choice with these idiots attacking my genitals and doing this to everybody. And it's like, it's worse than terrorism. It's like genocide, torture and terror and genocide and murder and attempted murder. And it's a lot of horrible names I could call it right now, what they do to people. So it's kind of hard to shut up about it, being a victim of it. And, you hear about the horrible things going on in the world, but imagine millions of people in every country that have our problem. Now, what's the biggest problem in the world, really? So it's very difficult. Even if I don't get any help, it's hard for me to shut up about it, even though maybe it's the reason I'm not getting the help that I was promised. But it's whatever, I can stand on my own. So what am I going to do about it? There's going to be a process, and the process is to become very knowledgeable and wealthy and credible. Okay, which is going to come with the knowledge and the wealth. Is the credibility is going to come. So how do I plan on doing that? Well, I study finance every day. I'm still making mistakes with it, but I know a lot. And I'm starting to get to the point where I feel like I can make some moves. I also study programming, computer science in college, and I do part-time because I work full-time, more than full-time. I work overtime every single week. And, but I also take 2 or 3 classes every semester, and that's the summer included. So I'm starting on my 3rd year in like a month. You know, this semester's almost over with. I got I got all A's, like as usual. I've had 1 B and 1 C, but otherwise I've had all A's. And so I'm learning about computer science, and I felt like I needed the structure to start from the beginning because I started studying on my own and I'm kind of lost. And you kind of look here and you look there, and even if you start learning something, you maybe get sidetracked. And I need the structure. I need the discipline and the structure. So I'm going to do it this way. And so it's going to be a process. So the process is going to be this. I'm going to finish this computer programming degree, and then probably before I even finish it, I'm going to go ahead and start in another program for a cybersecurity degree. And so it's going to be a few more years before I have both of these degrees, probably several more years at least. But and then I'm going to continue to learn more and more and more and more and more and more. And I'm always going to be learning about it. Meanwhile, I'm always going to be building my financial knowledge and wealth and putting myself in a better position. So what do you want to do is you want to put yourself in the position that makes you ungang stalkable. Okay, somebody that's very knowledgeable about computer science and very wealthy starts to be extremely dangerous for gang stalkers to bother, and extremely dangerous for the gang stalkers that ever bothered them. Okay, so that's where I'm headed. That's where I'm headed, and that's where you should be headed as well. I would recommend it. I would completely recommend it, even though it's going to be a process. How long you been sitting there saying, I hope somebody helps us, hope that God comes out of the sky and helps us. I hope that the government helps us soon. Their time is coming soon. We say things like this in our comments, and, that's fine. I'll like your comment and even say it myself sometimes, and they're going to get theirs. But it's a process, and we have to help ourselves. We have to help ourselves by becoming powerful with knowledge and financial, put ourselves in a better position. The last thing to study would probably be physics, because like I said earlier, with like spectrometers or maybe some sort of scientific visualization device or frequency analyzer or something like that. I don't know exactly. Okay, but I watch a lot of stuff about like JWS or what is it, the James Webb Space Telescope, JWST, and how they can see different spectrums out in space that you can't just see by looking, but they can use different kind of cameras to see different waves in the light spectrum, and it gives us a view that, like all those clouds and nebulas and all this different stuff that it shows, and those things aren't something you can just look and see. They have to do a lot of things with the instruments and the different type of programs and stuff that creates that visual image of what those specialized sensors and cameras actually see. And so we can do something similar to that if we had that kind of knowledge. So anyway, physics or maybe even astrophysics or whatever it takes. Okay, so if it's a 10-year process for me to learn enough and become financially prepared to have a go at it, then that's what it'll take. But I am that hard-headed. Okay, and if you've been following this channel, you know that I've been talking about this stuff for publicly like 8 or 9 years now. And I built this channel completely organically, like this. No, I didn't go out and say, please sub to me. I just put out the videos talking about what's going on with remote neural monitoring and my personal targeting situation, and the people came. Okay, and every day I get 5 or 10 people new. And that tells you that 5 or 10 new people at least every day, probably way more than that, are starting to experience the same thing as us. And so I have over 10,000 people that are subscribed to this channel that they know about it somehow. They're looking for answers like the rest of us were, and so they find it, and that's why it just continues to grow, and I think it always will. And so I'm glad that it helps people, but I also need an outlet. to be able to say, this is what's happening to me. You know, this is what they're doing to me. Nobody will help me, but here's what's happening. Okay, so at least it's documented that this man came home public, talked about how he was being tortured every day for a decade. You know, and that's going to be a big deal one day when it can't be swept under the rug anymore. They're going to say, look at the documentation and the history of this man saying, wow, they're attacking me, they're attacking me, they're attacking me. So hopefully that can end up at some point to help a lot of people. But anyway, I hope you got something out of this one. All of it's the real truth. And so I wanted to give you guys that knowledge. And again, I was motivated to make this video because, again, today and every day lately, they're attacking my genitals with broadcasts. So I'm going to share this video around everywhere. If you've made it this far, thank you so much for the support. Like, subscribe, share, I guess. So thank you, and I will see you guys on the next one.